TikTok stan who ruined their life for a Minecraft YouTuber. Let's go.
Tyler Catastrophe is a 27-year-old TikToker from Dallas, Texas. While making a meager living doing art, design work, and activism, they've recently gone viral due to an unhealthy parasocial relationship with a former Minecraft YouTuber.
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video, and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen.
This one-sided obsession...
Ew. Dude, if you're actually fucking falling in love with someone online, like, I understand. I can't look at this and talk. If, if you are like genuinely falling in love with someone online, you're a weirdo. I understand you like find someone attractive, you like whatever, you really like their stuff. I really like Joe Bart. He's a sexy man. Same with Jinxie. He's a sexy man. But oh my goodness, dude, you need to get a life.
grew so strong that Tyler was turning down relationships and allegedly trying to move across the Atlantic Ocean to live closer to Wilbur. But once their account went viral, this fascination ultimately turned from Tyler being interested in Wilbur to the internet learning more about Tyler's past.
I have a lot to say, there's a lot you need to know, and apologies that need to be made.
This is the cautionary tale of Tyler Catastrophe and the dangers of parasocial relationships.
Can I also ask what
Before
we need
standing
what I don't want to be offensive right now, right? I don't want to offend anyone. What is he, she, they, them, zig, zer? What the fuck? Oh my god, what's going on? Especially like this. If someone like this was like, "Oh my god, I'm in love with you," oh, I'd probably I would 100% be locking my doors at night, without a doubt. They got problems. This person has problems. I'm not saying that because of what they want to identify as. I'm just saying that by looks alone, 100% this person has something going on. Yeah, I would lock my doors.
Wilbur Soot was Tyler's claim to fame, the lore was already being built up. You see, prior to all of the cringe in the Western Hemisphere clumping together on TikTok, it was collected in a little corner of the internet known as Tumblr.
Yes, 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 yes!
In the mid-2010s, Tumblr was seen as the manhole, or they-hole to be inclusive, from which all kinds of online insanity crawled out. Whenever you saw someone joke about weeaboos, furries, or bronies, you knew they were talking about something coming from Tumblr. It pains me to say.
Tumblr, by the way. I didn't know this shit about Tumblr. Never been on it. Apparently, it's a fucking place for some weird things. It's a little fun fact of my day.
That ultimately, Tyler Catastrophe is another of its unfortunate alumni. Before there was a Tyler Salona, there was an Emily. I'm not going to say the last name here, but it is relevant to say that they're...
So they're a former she, who is now he. You can tell they're taking testosterone because of the beard and the, like, you know, it looks like mine. Let me get a close up. Let me. Right. You could tell they're taking testosterone. I just wasn't sure. Okay, let's go.
Real surname is not Salona, but you may wonder why it's relevant to even point this out, which gets us into the first interesting detail in the Tyler Catastrophe universe. As funny as it is to joke about nowadays, Tyler happens to be the kind of white American who dislikes or finds their own actual ethnicity boring, so they make something up about their identity to make it more interesting and exotic. One of the first manifestations of this was when Tyler made a post asking anyone from Greek Tumblr if anyone was interested in having an LGBT LGBT American friend who wanted to move to Greece. They had a fixation on Greece, which I think is what led to Salona being picked as the last name, given it's a Greek name that means wise, and versions of it are also the names of an ancient city as well as a philosopher. It's one thing to just like a culture a lot, or even prefer it over your own for aesthetics or whatever reason. It's another to try and actually pretend you're something you're not because you just dislike being seen as a run-of-the-mill white person, which seems to be what's going on here. Here's one Tumblr post that Tyler...
dude. Like, oh yeah, I'm this and that actually. Although you're obviously like not. I mean, it could be. Like they very well could be. But that's so lame, dude.
Made. One thing I hate about being white passing is that I feel so incredibly separated from the culture that I could be a part of if people didn't assume I was white or that I was lying when I tell them I'm actually half Portuguese. I'll stop right now to say what probably most of you are thinking. Portuguese is still white. You're not white passing, you're white. Portugal is in Europe. That's a European ethnicity. The people there are white. Cristiano Ronaldo is white. The Portuguese can enter...
Wait, I didn't actually know this. Actually, that's fucking crazy. That's really funny.
Agartha. Ronaldo is a creation of the great scientist Yakub.
That is a white child. That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus. That is a Slavic baby, a Viking from Iceland.
I strongly doubt that anyone would ever say,
no, there's no way you're half Portuguese. You look too white.
Most Americans can't even differentiate between Spain and Portugal on a map. In what world does Tyler live where they're getting treated as a second-class citizen and singled out for being Portuguese? Also, not to nitpick too much, but you can look atypical for your nationality and still identify with it and represent it without any issue. You don't see Canelo Alvarez talking about how he feels less Mexican. But I've learned from Tumblr that I'm supposed to be quiet when a person of color is speaking. Or in this case, a half Portuguese white American born and raised in Oklahoma. My siblings and I have the exact...
Born and raised in Oklahoma. Holy. Oh, this is a 45-minute long video. We're getting real deep.
Exact same parents, but my little sister looks Hispanic and I'm a carbon copy of my pasty red-headed mother. We went to Mexico as kids for a family reunion, and Border Patrol tried to accuse us of smuggling my sister over the border because of how dark she got in a week we were there, while my brother and I burned like lobsters. And I assume that after this, everybody stood up and clapped. And that little sister...
That did not fucking happen. Lying on the internet is everywhere. That did not fucking happen. Holy. Just making shit up to try and be like, oh yeah, me and my family, we're actually a lot darker than we look. Oh!
Sister's name was Albert Einstein. I'm not going to go out on a limb here and say that Tyler is straight up lying, but this kind of smells like a tall tale to me, especially because of how it ends. A coworker and I went to get dinner after work, and I complimented a guy's jacket, and we were exchanging pleasantries, as one does, and I have no idea what made him ask, but he asked if I was from Mexico, and when I told him that no, I'm actually Portuguese, he was super interested.
Also did not fucking happen. Did not happen. Look at this motherfucker, dude. No. Genuinely no. That didn't happen. I'm sorry. I don't mean to just like say that everyone's lying, but holy fuck, that shit did not happen.
That made sense, which one, no one has ever asked me if I was anything other than white, and two, I was so overwhelmed with gratitude for that moment that I ended up thanking him for making my night as I left. I feel like I'm having a tiny little stroke whenever the implication is made that Portuguese is not white. I don't think anyone, even super online scientific racism people, consider the Portuguese non-white. So it really boggles me to see Tyler Catastrophe of all people make the distinction here as if it mattered. I'm also slightly disturbed by the notion that being acknowledged as something other than white gives Tyler feelings of overwhelming gratitude. 2 decades ago, white people used to pretend to be Japanese and study the blade just because they liked anime, or they wore their hats backwards because they liked 50 Cent.
You happen to be white. I'm talking.
Now we have people trying to act like they're exotic because their dad is half Portuguese or something. How far have we fallen?
You are white! He's white!
Now, this would be stupid and funny enough on its own, but this Portuguese business is actually just the tip of the iceberg. If you go through Tyler's TikTok and Instagram posts, you repeatedly find these odd references to looking white. Tyler even uses brown emojis to signal non-whiteness.
I don't know what to fucking. Oh, why does he, she, they, them care so much to post all over the place and constantly fucking be like, no, I'm not white. I'm not a white person. I'm not white. No, I'm not white. I'm not white. I'm actually Portuguese.
As well as making Tumblr posts like this one. In Oklahoma, you learn how to square dance in first grade for some reason. We also had Land Run Day every year.
I did that shit. That's not that weird. You're learning how to fucking square dance. What's the big deal? That's not weird. I literally did that in the gymnasium. Who cares?
A land run was basically where the white settlers, colonizers, all lined up one day and raced to claim previously native land for their families. Oklahoma was originally native reservation, then was taken away again, making it stolen twice. So basically, they would have a bunch of toddlers dressed like cowboys and pull a bunch of wagons into an empty field to claim land and have a picnic, basically teaching a bunch of white kids how fun it is to colonize. And they even stayed true to the original and picked kids to be the Sooners, who basically cheated the system and claimed land before the start time. I didn't realize this was a weird only in Oklahoma thing until I was 21 and moved to Texas. So, you know, white people are weird. I will say right now that I'm no history buff, but it is pretty ironic that Tyler picked Portuguese as the ethnicity they'd LARP about, considering that before England took over everything, Portugal and Spain split the non-European world half and half for the—
She is fucking LARPing. 100%. I'm actually Portuguese. I am not white. Actually, white people are really weird. True. True. True, very true. You are white!
the purposes of colonization. Well, actually, given that Mediterranean Europeans aren't white in Tyler's mind, I guess this was actually a case of black on black crime or something. Leave it to a late Tumblrina to take issue with a bunch of kids playing cowboys and running around at school. The cherry on top of this weird obsession of Tyler's with ethnicity is it turns out that it's directly intertwined with their beliefs about gender. Although Tyler has stopped talking about it for the last few years, Tyler is a self-professed two-spirit, which is a historically debated concept that Native American tribes had some kind of third gender concept, which has now been revived by more recent LGBTQ movements. Additionally, Tyler claims that their aunt, who is Native, I assume Native American, unless we're talking about the Portuguese again, gave them the two-spirit pass.
Where did this information come from? I thought you were Portuguese. I thought you were Portuguese. I thought you were Portuguese. Where, like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Why you just have to be throwing around fucking random bullshit about, like, you because you don't want to be fucking white. You don't want to... Who cares, dude? Who fucking cares? I'm a white guy. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Because apparently you have to be some degree of native to call yourself one.
And referring to myself as two-spirit as a way of honoring the weight of my own soul and the way it guides me home, with the blessing of my deadliest auntie, by the way, is something that you would consider morally corrupt, then I don't think we will ever understand each other.
I think any tomahawk-wielding, tobacco-smoking chief, regardless of tribe, would not jive well with this stuff, but whatever. The mind of the modern Portuguese Oklahoman two-spirit truly is an enigma. Indians as a whole are sort of an enigma. No, not the Native Americans. I mean true Indians. In the summer of 1926, my great-grandfather, Turkey Thomas III, traveled all the way from his home country of Bulgaria to the far eastern lands of India. He was in search of a spice, but not just any spice. He was in search of swag. He spent his entire life questing for it, but sadly passed away in 1973. Now, 100 years after his expedition, I have come to the Far East once again, and I'm glad to say that I have found this elusive swag. It's not a one-off either. There's other times Tyler is speaking on traditional native dances and ceremonies and referring to native cultures as ours. I know it's a meme for white people who are one 16th native to make that their personality, but in this case, it's literally just what is happening. With that being said, a lot of Tyler's audience was not okay with them using the term Two-Spirit.
Yeah,
So
dude, and
Tyler
that shit
revoked this
pissed me
status.
off, dude. Like, fine, you're a quarter of something else. Sure, that's cool. I don't like, sure, that's great. Why make it your whole personality? Actually, why? Like, all this person talks about is fucking, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not white, I'm this, I'm that. It's just so annoying. Like, nobody cares. Actually, nobody fucking cares.
So as not to offend any Native Americans. Despite the decision, to this day, Tyler claims to have Oklahoma-rooted Native American connections.
But if there's one thing I hold to be absolutely true, is that the land remembers her people. And while there is a lot to be said about the generations of breeding out the savage, quote unquote, something I hate saying, and the very racist intentions of Blood Quantum, but when it comes to me personally, the land I was born to holds a great deal of importance to me. When I'm sure of nothing else, I am sure of where I come from. And somewhere in the years of educating myself, and learning the stories and the histories, and finding the truths and the lies I was taught, I found the ways of my home.
I've yet to hear Tyler name the specific tribe, probably because this native stuff is vibes-based and has no actual backing. This emphasis on being a native even spilled over into—
that would be fucking crazy. That would be crazy if they never actually did like what is it? Like looking into your family heritage and finding that shit out. If they're just like, I'm this, I'm this and that, I'm this and that, and like it's not actually true. Oh, that would be insane.
Tyler's professional life. Although I use the word professional pretty loosely here since we're talking about a TikToker who makes bead bracelets for a living. According to what seems to be a DM from Tyler, their bead making is motivated by their wish to bring a higher value back to an ancient art form that a lot of people overlook. I don't think selling bead bracelets on Etsy is an ancient art
This is insane.
form, but who am I to say? On one hand, I'm a YouTuber who makes videos on people who stick objects up their butt, so I'm not exactly the definition of a professional. But then again, my job also makes me a specialist on absolutely meaningless drivel. And to me, Tyler's career here definitely fits that bill. Now, a TikToker named Tim Stratford's wife, I honestly have no idea what is going on anymore. This TikToker bought one of Tyler's bracelets because, as she puts it in her video, she fell for Tyler's "I'm a trans man in Texas being discriminated against, and I need you to buy my stuff so I can move out" narrative. According to her, the items were very expensive, with her saying one of them cost her an entire paycheck. But despite their costs, the quality was terrible. One of them instantly broke apart, another arrived already shriveled up and had to be pulled extremely tight in order to be usable. And if that wasn't inconvenient enough, this TikTok—
it's 45 minutes long. If he doesn't go over this part, like right now, I'm gonna be upset. How much are these? I might go look myself. Because what? Where are you working if that's a whole fucking paycheck? What the fuck? Is your fucking are you working for 25 cents an hour? What is going on?
discovered that it was only the case because Tyler likes to model their creations before they're sold, meaning they were adapted to Tyler's size, which was significantly larger. And on top of all these defects, some of the rows of beads were missing or screwed up. And oddly enough, she claims that the bracelets were greasy, which I can only assume is the result of Tyler's modeling.
It came greasy. Like, and I thought this was a shipping issue.
I'm not
but no,
surprised.
it is, like, genuinely just, like, it is greasy. Like, I feel the grease residue on my fingers right now.
Imagine priding yourself on your work as much as Tyler does, only for the reputation of your work to be that it's covered in grease. Must be sad for anyone not named Colonel Sanders. But I don't mean to reduce Tyler to a bead stringer. We're dealing with a much more all-around, jack-of-all-trades type of artist. Back before Tyler became Two-Spirited, around the time of the pandemic, Emily was a singer. And according to a Tumblr post, they'd even auditioned for The Voice when they were 15. While they didn't make it on the show, they went back for more 6 years later when they were 21. Unfortunately, I can't find any footage of their auditions for the show, but this is just one of Tyler's many talents. On Tyler Catastrophe's art shop, you can find pretty much every kind of hodgepodge.
He was gonna play it. God damn it, dude.
So wait for now, I don't care what you think as long as it's about me. Best of us can find happiness in misery.
Imaginable. So much so that it would be too much to name all of the categories of items laid out here. But to focus on what Tyler offers up only tells half the story, as the other half is what's mentioned by the girl who bought the bracelets. The real engine that makes the bracelets and the paintings fly off the shelves is that Tyler has spent years farming up pity from people online in a variety of different ways. One of the telltale signs that someone is bound to become the laughingstock of the internet is that they chronically overshare and offer up way too much information about their personal lives for no gain whatsoever. Case in point, Tyler's life objective has been to share as many details as possible about themselves online for, one note on Tumblr.
Like, if you're a broke boy, just say so.
This particular post is a long, drawn-out, symbolic letter to Tyler's dad, basically laying out how he ran out on his family in minute detail. As I understand it, he went to a bar and didn't tell anyone, and hid a gun in the house, which Tyler takes issue with because none of them are mentally stable enough to be around one. But things escalated pretty quickly, as Tyler's dad is first described as hitting his wife and then dragging her around with his truck and nearly running her over. Tyler then goes on to say that this traumatic event caused them to have trust issues with men, which is highlighted by Tyler being, quote, nearly raped. I'm not going to make light of or even question this claim, but I will say that generally, I don't think sharing this type of stuff with strangers online is good for you. But ultimately, it is Tyler's choice. Regardless, Tyler talks about how their dad leaving led to a lack of trust in men generally, and then repeatedly says that their dad chose a gun.
Like if you have issues with stuff like that, you know, you should see someone about it. You should talk about it, but not just post it online like you're gonna. I don't know what you're gonna get out of that. That's weird to do, you know? Talk talk about it with a professional, like try to overcome the things that had mentally kind of fucked you up from that. But just like, posting all about it online, putting paragraph after paragraph is just that's weird. That's strange to me.
Over his family. At the tail end of the post, Tyler references being on psychiatric meds, and at the top, there's a drawing about abandonment. There's also one other old Tumblr post about Tyler's dad, which accuses him of faking disabilities. I hate seeing my biological father in public with his fake service dog when I am very actually disabled, and know that if it was a real service dog for the tasks he says it performs, he would lose his driver's license and his job. It's always something with that man. He has Tourette's syndrome like I do, but he says that she's for seizures. She isn't. They bought a vest and a random lot of patches on Amazon, and that dog is dumber than a box of rocks. It's so embarrassing. It's interesting that Tyler is accusing their dad of pretending or exaggerating his disability for sympathy, because we'll come back to this topic later. On the other hand, we also have Tyler's mom, who is described as a bit of a gaslighter narcissist type. In the same post that Tyler
Vape break.
says their paintings are worth $1,000. Do you really think that the originals for any of these paintings are worth $1,000?
So some rando, aka the
No. But if it's if it's their painting, I didn't get that part. If it's this person's paintings, no. Could we hold on? This. There's another one in the house of Erica Badu. This is Tupac. This that would be worth money. It's by a guy named Tokyo. He's an actual painter. Great stuff. Love it. I would not say this person's paintings are worth fucking anything.
art collector X just told me that $1,800, $1,800 was way too much to pay for this gorgeous piece of art right here that literally took me a year.
No, it didn't.
And is 4 feet tall.
It didn't take you a year.
So that guy. It's 32,000 now. Yeah, I think that's how I want to live my life now.
The last piece of info about Tyler's family that they provide on Tumblr is that besides a brother and sister, who I can only assume are biological and children of the same dad, there's also a stepbrother who, according to Tyler, is black and suffered discrimination by southern middle-aged white ladies. Just so we're in the clear here, counting Tyler, that's 4 siblings, counting the ones that aren't blood related. Yet, in the post about Tyler's mom, she supposedly has 10 kids. Either this woman has been pumping out Oklahomans like there won't be a tomorrow, or Tyler deliberately avoids explaining that his mom just remarried someone else with a bunch of kids so that his family sounds more like Encanto. But it's when we get to around age 20 that the story gets to a pretty interesting wrinkle. You see, on Tyler's old Tumblr, there are a few posts like this one. Being disabled in the very specific way that I am is so strange. Like, I can't bend over, I'm in a constant level of pain at all times, and my body just stops breathing if I'm not actively telling it to. But I'm still very capable of lifting heavy objects, if their starting point isn't on the floor, or even going on moderate length hikes if I have a cane handy. So like, I think I could carry a few of my wheelchair using friends in the event of an emergency. But there's also a thought that I'll probably by the time I'm 30. I don't know, man. Life is weird. Don't get hit by cars. This is the second time I've made a video on an unreliable narrator who claims to have a social circle of severely physically disabled people. Tyler says a few of my wheelchair using friends. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but that sounds like more than 2 at least. I find that statistically unlikely unless your job requires you to work with people with disabilities.
At least 3. Right? Because a couple, as in like, you say a couple as like boyfriend girlfriend, that's 2. So when I hear a couple as in like 2 objects or like things like this is a here, this is a couple of Polaroids, 2. But then if I said this is a couple of objects or whatever, I would say no, that's a few. That's a few. I don't know, maybe a weird take. That's my take on it. I like it.
Secondly, although the post attempts to sort of beat around the bush a bit, the whole point of it is to advertise that Tyler's been in a bad car crash that has severely affected their life. In another post, more specifics are provided, with Tyler saying that the surgeons put their shattered rib cage back together, and how they can no longer bend over at the waist without feeling extreme pain, on top of chronic pain where Tyler feels like they're being stabbed from the inside every few days. Based on the dates, this surgery took place in late 2019, which leads me to think the car crash also happened around that time. And in an Instagram post which featured Tyler, more details about the crash were given. Tyler was hit by an SUV in 2019, leaving him physically impaired. He is now missing a rib, has 2 titanium ribs, and suffers from chronic pain. On a podcast, Tyler retold this story, adding the information that they had been riding on a bike and there was no traffic light, which technically made the accident their fault. Because of the amount of information provided by Tyler, people were actually able to find the crash report from the right date, with the right vehicles, and with a matching description of Tyler, which labeled them as at fault for the accident. By going over the crash report, we can find some things that Tyler neglects to mention or outright says the opposite of. The crash wasn't just labeled Tyler's fault because of some technicality. Tyler failed to yield the right of way. It's also worth mentioning that the vehicle Tyler got in a crash with had a 7-year-old girl in it. Lastly, and this I'm actually dubious on, Tyler was apparently unlicensed, or at least didn't have their license with them when the crash went down. All of this is to point out that Tyler...
Okay, driving is scary. Driving can literally end your life in seconds if you're being a total dumbass on the road. Don't be an idiot when you drive. Drive safe.
Was clearly in the wrong in this situation, yet spent years making themselves out to be the victim. It obviously sucks that Tyler got injured, and that shouldn't be wished on anyone, but the other driver did not do anything wrong, at least according to this report. In a Tumblr post about it, Tyler says, "I was hit by an SUV while riding in October. People who ride for thrills forget that car drivers who don't also ride aren't trained to look for or even see motorcyclists, and they put everyone on the road in danger. In fact, most motorcyclists don't have motorcycle licenses, and and don't have the skills to avoid risk, and way too many riders seek it out. I'm gonna say here that there's a chance Tyler's actually being self-aware, and this is basically from the perspective of someone who has been reckless while riding a bike. But ever since the accident, Tyler has always put an apostrophe and tried to justify why they weren't actually at fault for the crash. So I don't think that's what's happening here. For some reason, Tyler doesn't see the irony in talking about how some unlicensed bikers are reckless, when that's exactly why they got hit by an SUV in 2019. Besides the story of the crash itself conflicting with Tyler's claims, there's also the after effects, which Tyler has spent years bringing up, even blaming the crash on why they lost their singing voice or being told by doctors they'd never sing again. Tyler also says that this crash caused PTSD so severe that it completely went away in less than a year, and Tyler went right back to riding his motorcycle by August of 2020. To add insult to injury, in 2021, Tyler wrote this post. So a giant truck rear-ended my motorcycle today, and I'm really glad I saw him coming and held the brake a bit longer than normal because I almost ended up in the middle of a no-light intersection. The only real damage was a reflector on my license plate, but I was pretty shaken because the PTSD from my last crash is still pretty fresh. But the driver was an older black gentleman, and he was super apologetic and explained that his brakes had been acting up and that he misjudged the distance and handed me a $100 bill. I'm honestly just glad he hit me and not some other white person, because I know a lot of people in the Dallas area would have immediately called the police, and I know I would never involve the cops in anything I do. I just hope he takes it as a sign to get his brakes fixed, because I have a feeling that he won't get so lucky twice. I should probably light a candle. Once again, I must ask the question, what does race have to do with any of this? Why is it even being brought up that the truck driver is—
Oh my God, dude. Thank you for saying that. Holy fuck. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, thankfully it was me and not just any other white person. It could have been anyone. It could have been anyone, dude. What the fuck? Oh.
black. Why is it being brought up that any other white person would have called the cops? Tyler's making it out as if this truck driver isn't driving around with busted brakes and rear-ended the bike. I can't think of a greater example of the bike cuck mentality than getting rear-ended, and your first thought is, I'm glad this happened to me and not some racist white person, because then this black truck driver who rear-ended me would get in trouble. The cherry on top of this story is you have to consider Tyler wrote this and posted it to Tumblr, again, to advertise how much of an ally they are, that they won't even complain about getting rear-ended if a black person does it. Jokes aside, this whole crash thing was one of Tyler's last notable Tumblr posts, because from this point onwards, they took their business over to TikTok. Their first available posts on the platform are pretty much the same as what they ended up posting there since, complaining about life a lot, promoting homemade jewelry, and hopping on whatever audio is trending on TikTok at that moment. Even if Tyler didn't get into a bunch of controversies later on, these videos are entertaining enough to get a bunch of traction, because some of it is unbelievable.
Random people used to come up to me on the street and tell me that the way that I looked is how they pictured Jolene from the Dolly Parton song Jolene.
But it wasn't all hate. One of their videos about paintbrushes got a ton of views and engagement, as well as one showing a painting inspired by a—
No one ever said that. No one ever said that. Can we go look at what this person's talking about? Dolly Parton, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene.
now deceased Minecraft YouTuber named Technoblade. But as you can imagine, combining the attention from the TikTok communities revolving around art, Minecraft YouTubers, and social issues, the fanbase Tyler grew was pretty sensitive when it comes to hot topic issues. Naturally, the more attention Tyler got, the higher a standard they were held to, and this generally leads to an almost inevitable fall from grace. At some point, Tyler decided to capitalize on the fanbase that was slowly coming together on TikTok, and this materialized into crowdfunding. Tyler wanted to raise money to purchase a suit to attend a wedding, and it actually worked. So Tyler got to thinking bigger. And this is when we get into another fascination: England. After all, Tyler does come from Tumblr, and those people have had a very strange fascination with England ever since the website started. In the 2010s, this was so prominent that a new term was created to describe Americans who fetishize being British: Teaboos. In 2022, Tyler visited the country and was overtaken by a strong sense of culture shock, talking about how how amazing it is. Advertisements are way more pleasant here. Even the YouTube ads, and we all know how anti-ad I am, but it was nice to see. English people have a tendency to become immediately flabbergasted if I compliment them or offer assistance of any kind. I plan to do it more just so they become a little less surprised when people are kind. I told my mother I had fallen in love with England and wanted to move permanently. With this newfound appreciation for the British also came fantasies of dating a European hunk and living there. Except there was one major issue. Tyler is broke.
If you're a broke boy, just say so.
Well, not really, because if you can afford to live comfortably enough that you spend all of your time recording TikToks and stringing beats together, you're not actually broke. But basically, Tyler needed some cash to fulfill their British dreams, specifically $22,000, which led to the launch of a GoFundMe.
Don't send this person more. What the fuck? Help a disabled trans guy escape Texas. Dude.
Fund me. So far, no issue. I believe it's anyone's right to shake their coffee can at strangers online, no matter how silly their dreams may be. However, it's when you purposely mislead your potential donors that things start to get questionable. Here's how the description of the fundraiser reads. Hi friends, my name is Tyler and I'm a—
You got in a wreck. That was your fault. And it fucked you up and now you have, well, what do they say? Back issues, whatever the fuck. You're not disabled. You're just no longer very physically capable. If you were disabled, you'd be like wheelchaired, you know? He's obviously still walking, still up and at 'em. You're just in pain.
disabled transgender artist from Oklahoma, currently stuck in Texas. I've been given an amazing opportunity to move to England and further my art career, and considering everything that's currently working against my safety here, I'm doing everything I can to make it happen. I don't want to have to live in exhaustion and fear for the rest of whatever life I have left, and I'm hoping that it isn't too much to ask for. So if anyone is at all willing and able, I would greatly appreciate any cent of support that could possibly—
Get a job. Fucking save your money. If you really want it that bad, work for it. Why are you online, like, posting GoFundMes and misleading everyone into giving you money, giving you their hard-earned money? That's ridiculous.
help. This fundraiser will help with bills, medications, updated documents, moving fees, plane tickets, and finding housing once I'm able to. This opportunity means the world to me, and I'm hoping that once I'm stable enough, I'll be able to help others as well. Now, this sounds relatively harmless, all things considered. At most, you can say that—
find a job. Stop begging strangers for fucking their hard-earned money. Like, holy fuck. Pissing me off, dude. Pissing me off.
Tyler has a penchant to lean too heavily into the "I'm endangered" narrative to try and guilt trip people into paying up. The way I see it, the greatest threat to Tyler's well-being is not Texas. Instead, it's the red Yamaha and intersections without traffic lights. What isn't true is the part where Tyler says they got an opportunity to move to England and further a career in the arts. On TikTok, Tyler spoke about a job offer that came during the first tourist visit to England in 2022.
But the actual job itself will be in an art studio with a group of just amazing artists who run a nonprofit, and I'll be able to make things and just do all the things that I do for myself just on a larger level.
But according to Tyler, the offer fell through at the last minute. Like most half-truth merchants, Tyler expects people to simply not follow up or question the things being said on the TikToks. So they keep talking about this dream job opportunity until every last drop of sympathy can be squeezed out of the audience without ever actually explaining what—
It probably wasn't true. Probably wasn't true. It was for the likes, for the views, for the promos.
the job was supposed to be. Because of course, the more details that Tyler provided, the clearer it became that this whole thing is a lie. In 2025, Tyler decided to do the opposite of coming clean, and instead accuses the people who supposedly had the job offer of ghosting and feeding false hopes. Namely, Tyler blames British artist Stuart Semple for being misleading, and in one post even outright says that Stuart was at fault for leaving him almost homeless and halting his career and ruining his desire to paint.
I was supposed to have a job in England waiting for me, and then they pulled out at the very last minute. Actually, Stuart Semple. So I asked him, point blank, hey, can I have a different job in the studio and I'll just move to England? I'll raise the funds myself. I've got to be out by this date. Could it happen? And he said yes. So what do? I put my career on hold, sell basically almost everything else I own.
You don't do that, dude. You do not do that. That's so stupid. You're just banking on it. That's so dumb. Don't fucking do that shit. You're the dumbass. You're the reason you nearly went fucking homeless, if that's even true. It's your fault. Oh my god.
The work because I go all in or nothing. And what does he do? Ghosts.
The word homelessness and the idea that Tyler was selling off stuff in America to move only to get their hopes dashed starts popping up a lot around this time, and the complaining about being tricked by Stuart really starts boiling over, which eventually got Stuart's attention and a reply. Years ago, Tyler swung by. Nice bloke. But visiting the studio isn't a job offer. Tyler saying he was close to me in the studio was an overstatement. He sent a lot of messages to a lot of the crew, and I know everyone was lovely to him. I think one of the crew members was in touch with him a bit more. He may have felt we were friends, but perhaps to us it was a little less than that. We were pretty hospitable when he passed through. He spent about half an hour with me, and eventually he asked me for a job. I was trying to be nice and said if he ever made it back to England, we could talk about it. He was really lovely, and I wish him well, but sadly there was never a job offer. Certainly nothing that should have made him sell all of his belongings and plan to move halfway across the world. Even then, some people were still considering the possibility that Stuart may have miscommunicated with Tyler due to the "we could talk about it." But Stuart then took to Reddit and shared messages he had with Tyler where it's very clear that no job offer was ever made. He then further clarified he was given a firm no from the studio a little later. My assistant was very clear with him. We swapped a couple of DMs a few weeks later, and it felt very much like he understood that there was no hard feelings, and he was talking about applying for a job in another studio. He was fully aware there was no job. It was his choice to carry on with the crowdfunding and his attempt to move to England. Again, I do wish him well, and I really hope that he makes it to the UK if that's what he wants. So at this point, you can see what Tyler was doing, lying about a story for sympathy to explain why their life wasn't going the way they wanted. And this brings us to the breaking point. The big reason why anyone even knows Tyler Catastrophe exists in the first place. Wilbur Soot. Wilbur used to run a channel called Soot House that got a ton of views and engagement, where he and his friends read posts from Reddit.
This is the love of my life because I saw him on YouTube playing Minecraft. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom before we get into this shit. Oh my god. It's so hard. Oh! Oh. It just like fell, dude. Oh man.
Reddit and other sites to laugh at them. Then in 2020, when Minecraft YouTuber Dream was blowing up, Wilbur joined his server and became a part of that whole phenomenon, growing a fan base of a few million subscribers. This eventually allowed him to transition out of being a typical YouTuber and into a full-blown musician with his band Lovejoy. While YouTubers making music generally has a negative connotation, in this case the band has been fairly successful, reaching tens of millions of plays on some of their songs. But things took a turn for the worse in 2024 when Wilbur's ex-girlfriend, Shubble, claimed that she had been in an abusive relationship. Specifically, she claims that this ex-boyfriend would repeatedly bite her even after she had communicated she wasn't okay with it.
And I would yell out the safe word because it hurt so bad, he'd clamp down even harder. I'd say the safe word and he'd grind his teeth down on my skin.
While she didn't name Wilbur as the target of her allegations, people figured it out pretty quickly by simply checking the time frame of when Shubble claimed this happened and when she was with him. This was huge news at the time, and a lot of his former associates distanced themselves pretty quickly. Wilbur eventually responded, where he made a few concessions but did fire back at the more serious claims. He says that Shubble's feelings are valid and that towards the end of their relationship, he became slobbish, disrespectful, and selfish. However, he claims that the allegation of abuse related to him biting her was shocking to him because, in his words, throughout our relationship, I understood from our numerous conversations and text message exchanges that this behavior was consensual, playful, and reciprocally enjoyed. At the end of the day, I wasn't there, and I have yet to see dead to rights evidence that either side of this situation is definitively in the right. What seems to have pissed people off the most is that although Wilbur presented as if he were apologizing and saying he sought therapy to fix his issues, his response actually lacked a straightforward apology. Shubble then addressed Wilbur's response and doubted he was being genuine in it, and as this drama broke out, even more allegations were made towards Wilbur, pretty much cutting him off from his past as a well-connected Minecraft channel. The stan base around him from the Minecraft days died, but the band Lovejoy has continued despite everything, with a decent level of success, all things considered. And this is where Tyler Catastrophe comes in. Tyler has always identified as a huge fan of Wilbur Soot and his band. They even wanted to audition for it at some point. In a fit of extraordinary delusion, Tyler even offered to become Lovejoy's second vocalist.
So hi, Lovejoy. Do you want a second vocalist?
No.
My name is Tyler Salona. I'm 26 years old. I live in Texas, but I'm trying to move to England anyway.
No.
I'm a massive extrovert. I've been performing since I was 10, and in
No.
2019, I was actually a semi-professional vocalist, but then had to spend almost 5 years getting my voice back after losing it completely because someone hit me with their car.
Whenever Tyler wants something really bad, the accident always comes up without fail. It's a pretty crafty move. This is kind of unrelated, but I got my wisdom teeth removed a year ago, and this is what I looked like. So please subscribe or I will literally die. In December 2022,
yeah.
Tyler...
I do like this guy. W YouTuber. W Mans. Like and subscribe.
wrote, Wilbur Soot being an age-appropriate crush really is a huge win for me. I'm not even sure I like men, but damn if I wouldn't romance him. I'd candlelight dinner and rose petal footpath him. Hands down, bro. But this fixation on Wilbur went even further back.
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video, and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen.
Tyler then describes how they don't have many romantic interests, but Wilbur in particular was extremely fascinating.
And since then, I have only briefly dated one other person who was wonderful, but it didn't work out. And so in all of that time, regardless of how many people have tried and been interested in me, I have not been able to
no
find
one actually fucking no one. Nobody. No one. Oh my god, dude. Stop. Stop pissing me off. Stop pissing me off. Stop it. We need a moment of silence. Okay.
For any single one of them. Because I have a fucking crush on a guy I have interacted with once.
Apparently, the two have even met in real life when Tyler attended a Lovejoy show. This moment meeting Wilbur was so magical that they've continued to crush on him for years. The brief meeting even inspired Tyler to start making music again.
And I don't even officially know his sexuality. I have tried so hard to move on from this, to let it go, because I want so badly for it not to cross over into parasocial terror.
What? He has an ex-girlfriend. Just a regular fucking dude who plays Minecraft. What are you questioning?
Territory. He somehow managed to make me want to write music again, something I have not done since my last band broke up in 2019 and I got hit by a car and couldn't sing anymore.
Tyler spends the entirety of this 3-minute video talking about this one-sided obsession with
sing.
Wilbur Soot, with the main goal of even talking about it being to finally address it so it can just be out in the open and hopefully put the entire thing to rest. This obviously did not work, as talking about something to hundreds of random strangers around the world usually just makes more people aware of it, and thus makes more people talk about it. But even with how silly that stated intention is, a big point of conversation around this whole issue has been the idea of a parasocial relationship. This is something Tyler acknowledges in the video, that there is a one-sided fascination with a person you do not know. In the age of the internet, this idea has become increasingly widespread, as headlines have come out of horror stories where obsessive fans stalk streamers. While this is the most extreme end of the spectrum, there are in-betweens like what Tyler's fallen into, where the fan doesn't pose a physical danger to the object of their ire, but nonetheless, the parasocial relationship has negative consequences. In this case, apparently Tyler has turned down potential romances because the people they meet in real life failed to live up to their expectation of Wilbur Soot. Of course, the great irony here is that in the hypothetical world where Wilbur did actually fly out Tyler Catastrophe and attempt to fill the Grand Canyon, so to speak, they would still be disappointed because Wilbur Soot and any YouTuber anyone watches is not the idealized version they present, or the version of them that some fans will conjure up in their heads. As beloved or hated as they may be online, in real life, they are real people with real flaws.
True.
But the parasocial obsession with Wilbur has clearly blinded Tyler to that, instead only seeing him as the British indie rock guy he presents
literally
himself
what
as.
his ex-girlfriend was like talking about. Like, oh, he was, biting me and doing like weird shit, and I didn't like it, and it was too much. I told him to stop, blah, blah, blah. That's obviously not being shown on his YouTube or Twitch or whatever because he doesn't want people to see that. Falling into the lies.
So no matter how many times I try to sweep this out of the rug and move on with my life, there's always that little thing in the back of my head saying, there's a non-zero chance. Oh my god. Because honestly, it doesn't matter what I'm doing any day ever for the rest of my life. If he was like, hey, do you want to get dinner or something? I'd say yes. Obviously, I'm delusional. It's fine.
As you can imagine, within a short period of this video being released, Tyler went viral, being branded as the cringy Lovejoy fan from TikTok.
I do not think that Wilbur Soot is an abuser. This is just a reminder that I still feel that way.
Now, if this was coming from a teenager, it'd be a bit more understandable, even if still absolutely delusional and parasocial. But in 2019, Tyler was already grown up enough to be riding around on a motorcycle and getting hit by SUVs. We aren't talking about a kid here. We're talking about a fully grown-up adult who has continued to actively fantasize about dating Wilbur Soot for years. Another issue Tyler ran into regards the allegations around Wilbur. The reason why I was kind of middle of the road regarding the claims made when I brought them up earlier is because I just don't know what happened with him and Shovel. I wasn't there, and while I'm not going to accuse anyone of lying, I'm also not going to jump on the train to accuse Wilbur without definitive evidence, even if I myself have to admit that his response to the allegations was not very good by YouTuber standards. With that being said, among younger Minecraft stans, and especially the audience that Tyler has built, you're kind of expected to believe allegations unquestioningly. And as a result, anything opposing that can get you in some serious hot water with those people. When Shovel came out with her claims about Wilbur, despite having no solid information on it and only having met the guy once, Tyler instantly took to antagonizing Shovel on Tumblr. If Shelby Shovel has no haters, assume I never existed, cause I'd still be hating from the grave. I wish Wilbur Soot would call me baby. Can I be honest now? I can't stand a Shovel. Like, in general, not a fan. In the hashtags of this second post, we once again see the phrase age appropriate, which really confuses me. Why is this being emphasized in the first place? I'm not implying anything, I'm just genuinely wondering if this is something people regularly say on Tumblr, or if it's just Tyler that does it. Besides coming to his defense, Tyler basically bragged about being parasocial and stalkerish, made clever little references to the kind of abuse Wilbur was accused of, and even shared a fan fiction about him. At 2:14 a.m., the signal was supposed to go dead. Wilbur, or the man the world knew as Argbur, had spent a year building a world out of digital shadows, hiding his heat in the static, because he was too cowardly to even say the words out loud. But when the rain started falling on the bridge and the departure clock began to tick, the poetic metaphors crumbled into raw, bleeding desperation. You were supposed to be on a plane. You were supposed to leave everything behind for a life lived in the light. But you didn't choose it. You couldn't. The tags on this post include angst, happy ending, too much kissing, smut, praises, and multiple orgasms. Humanity is beautiful. After years of all these questionable elements of Tyler's online presence had gone completely unnoticed, their public parasocial attachment to Wilbur Soot had people scraping through Tyler's content and scrutinizing everything they'd done up until this point. The reason it took off so much is because, one, TikTok people don't play about those accused of abuse, and two, people made fun of Tyler for just being generally cringe.
And I know I can pull. And thinking to myself, hey, I bet if this guy knew me, he'd probably like me back. There's a chance. Is also not parasocial.
But as the criticism flooded in, Tyler's first response was to downplay it.
Is it embarrassing to publicly admit that you have a crush on someone? Yes. But having a crush about a person you don't know is not inherently wrong. I'm not out here writing self-insert fanfiction or building a shrine to our love in my fucking closet. And y'all are out here acting like I trained an AI chatbot to talk like him. And for the record, we are strictly against AI in this house, just so you know.
I don't really know why.
I don't think anyone said that. I think this person genuinely did that. I think that was a genuine thing that happened. This person actually created an AI chatbot to talk like him so that this person can speak to that AI chatbot and say weird things all the time. Gross.
They're bringing up these examples as if those were crossing the line when Tyler is on the record sharing self-insert fan fiction about Wilbur Soot. It's honestly not that far away from making an AI chatbot to talk to him.
If he asked me out, I would say yes. That is all I said.
I don't mean to be the crusher of hopes and dreams, but this is the kind of thing someone should only do in private because of how strange it is. Tyler Catastrophe is the latest iteration of a long line of people who have lost track on why human beings have a biological built-in function of cringing. We feel bad for embarrassing ourselves because it's a sign of social dysfunction. Now, while it's true that Tyler made a series of bizarre, questionable decisions, people also went overboard in the other direction. As documented by Tyler, several people were sending death threats and making fun of them for self-harming in the past. Found your mom.
Starve yourself. You'll be more respectable.
What began as a one-sided obsession with Wilbur Soot had now turned into a one-sided obsession from anonymous people with a cringy TikToker. Who, cringe as they may be, Tyler is relatively harmless. This kind of hatred is just not warranted whatsoever. In videos about Tyler, commentary channels repeatedly hit on Tyler's desire to move to the United States. It was another manifestation of their borderline stalker desire to be near Wilbur. But Tyler fired back, basically saying that the move and the fixation on Wilbur were actually totally unrelated.
If y'all think I would make a massive, life-altering decision that takes years of work to achieve, just because I was willing to admit on the internet that I think a musician I don't know has a pretty laugh, then y'all really have the wrong idea.
Bullshit. If this person moved closer to the YouTuber and is denying allegations of it being because they have a crush or some shit like that, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit. I think they're a creep. I think they're trying to creep. My personal opinion. I don't trust it at all.
Tyler still failed to understand why people were even creeped out by this obsession with Wilbur in the first place. But Tyler's story went the way that most of these stories go. Eventually, the fortitude to keep rolling with the punches was worn down. An anonymous person, speculated to be Tyler, made a post to the r/advice subreddit. Hello, I am a 27-year-old queer artist that has recently become a target of online bullying, harassment, and misinformation. Without revealing too much of identity, I am being flooded with loads of hate from individuals as young as children to people older than me. Countless videos and posts have been made about me attacking my art, shaming the amount I charge for each piece, my fashion sense, my identity, my singing, my medical history, my love life, etc.
You probably like
me back.
Now,
oh my god. If you're posting on social media and you're like, especially to the extent of this person, just like putting all of your business out there, you're going to get flamed. You have to know that you're going to get flamed. When I post YouTube and stuff, I'm expecting like multiple people to be hating on my videos. I don't care. Like, that's just a part of social media at this point. It's Fucking A. They're cringy as shit. They post all about their personal lives, and they expect full fucking support. I'm I'm sorry, but you're not gonna get that from you're not gonna get that at all. Holy fuck! Even if like a beloved person on YouTube is doing the same thing that this person's doing, they're gonna get flamed for it like crazy. It's just how it is.
I'm not one to care what others think of me, but it's become quite a disruptive time for me
Just
and
stop
people who may
posting.
know me
Just
and
stop
my art.
posting. If it's getting to you that much, stop fucking posting. Fucking delete the goddamn platform and take a break from it. Like, you're taking it so personally, but it's trolls on the internet that just want to make you feel bad or whatever the fuck. Just delete the fucking platform or don't go on it or stop posting, but yeah, you're probably going to be continuing to post and then get more hate, and then you're going to cry about it some more and be like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Yeah.
Business. I've been getting fake orders from my shop where people make a refund right after purchasing, refunds on a GoFundMe I've set up to help me with expenses out of my hands, entire TikTok pages and Reddit dedicated to me, and more. I've been researching my legal options here, but it's just too vast that I'm not sure what to do. Additionally, I live in a red state, so I'm not sure how seriously it'll be taken by lawyers and professionals and all that jazz. If any other poor soul has suffered anything like what I'm currently having to bask in, any advice on what I can do? Someone left a comment saying that hiring a lawyer would be pointless and that they could tell who was making the post, and it was deleted shortly thereafter. But the post itself does show that Tyler was looking for a solution to the current predicament, with the next attempt being a video addressing everything. The first walk back regards being two-spirited, with Tyler saying they tried to bury the entire thing because it was stupid to do in the first place.
I do not refer to myself as two-spirit. I have mistakenly done so in the past, and I am genuinely sorry.
Now that he was allowed back in the teepee, he moved on to discussing Wilbur Soot, apologizing for defending Wilbur in regards to his allegations.
And because I saw a lot of people treating Wilbur's statement as an admission of guilt, when to me it did seem genuine, and like he honestly didn't understand the extent of the harm he had done and was doing therapy and stuff to be better in the future, I felt very strongly about the way it was being treated from an outside perspective.
Tyler basically says that it was a mistake to ever speak about it in the first place, given the limited information the public had at that time. The final acknowledgement regards the trip to England, where the studio had supposedly made a job offer, only to retract it. Tyler admits that Stuart Semple and his collaborators hadn't done anything wrong, and that the truth had been stretched to paint Tyler in a more sympathetic light. There was, in fact, no real job offer in the first place.
I wound up blaming Stuart for a lot of things that were entirely on me, and now it's a lot bigger than any of it should have been.
Because of how viral this whole situation had been, word actually made its way to Wilbur Soot himself, who made a brief attempt to address it.
And I know what a lot of you are thinking, because obviously
God,
I've seen
what
he's
gotta think that they're the weirdest, creepiest fucking things, immediately locking his doors, fucking hiding with a gun under his pillow, dude. Oh my god, I would freak out. I would genuinely freak the fuck out.
saying on the internet. And no, it's not about a specific person. And if I can be quite frank, I think the way that I think parasocial relationships needs to be something that's discussed, but the way some people go about talking about this person online makes me a bit fucking sick. It's kind of bullying. It's kind of ridiculous.
He's defending.
This is just my way of saying I'm not going into
Oh
it.
my god, no! I'd be so upset.
This,
I'd be so disgusted. I'd be so mad, dude. I'd be genuinely so mad. I'd be so fucking pissed off. I'd be scared for my life. I wouldn't be scared for my life. Obviously, they didn't do anything that was like too crazy, other than just like having a little bit of an obsession. I'd still be scared for my life. Yeah.
person, a lot of them are just as parasocial. And I think everyone needs to take a good look inwards, all right, and figure themselves out. Yeah, you stare long enough into the abyss and the abyss stares back into you.
It's clear that he doesn't want to really bring attention to this drama, but there is some truth to his point that many of the people talking about Tyler have taken it too far. It's clear that he doesn't really want to make this a bigger conversation than it already is, and he probably did the best he could with that intention in mind. Of course, parasocial attachments, especially ones being paraded around in public, aren't healthy and can make people feel extremely uncomfortable. But harassing people in their DMs over it isn't good either. Tyler quickly found out about the response and decided to throw in the expected 2 cents. Yes, I've seen the clip from Wilbur's stream. I'm very grateful he said something before the song releases, especially because it probably would have really sucked for me if he hadn't, but it also really sucks that he needed to. Either way, I know a lot of people wouldn't have ever said anything, so the fact that he did is something I appreciate very much, and likely always will. I still wish him and the band all the best, even if one new song will probably be difficult to listen to for a while. While Tyler is still the same parasocial person that thinks being Portuguese makes you two-spirit or whatever, as of right now, they haven't really done anything terrible that warrants the level of hate they got. To be honest, after looking into the whole thing, I'm surprised it got as big as it did. Did Tyler lie about the job offer with Stewart? Yes, and that should be corrected. And the GoFundMe's existence is pretty unnecessary even without that falsehood being addressed. As of now, the GoFundMe has raised 3/4 of its goal, so maybe Tyler will end up moving to England in the end, living the rest of life as a tea-drinking, crumpet-eating bead seller. Only time will tell. I've been Chicken Thomas.
That was a WS
Thanks for
video.
watching.